We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed, more innovation.
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Good afternoon, everyone, and if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. If you've been watching all weekend long, welcome back. It is the Curling Stadium Martensville International. 16 teams here looking for spots in the playoffs, and we've got an outstanding game for you here this afternoon. My name's Sean Joyce, joined by David Wills, and we've got a couple of young teams here. Rylan Kleiter and his team out of Saskatoon just back from the Brier, where they represented Saskatchewan. Jordon McDonald, been knocking on the door for a few years now. Another young team out of Manitoba, out of Winnipeg. And for both of these teams, knocking on the door of the playoffs here in Martensville. 8 teams to make the playoffs out of a 16-team field. We know there's 3 teams at 3-0 as well already. These 2 teams both at 2-1 here as we enter play this afternoon. And the winner of this game has pretty much locked themselves into a playoff spot. The loser, David, might be looking at tiebreakers later tonight.
Yeah, it's amazing to see a couple of teams just end up against each other at 2-1 at this point in the event, because as you say, they're motivated to really work hard. This one win will separate them from a substantial portion of the rest of the pack. So it'll be fun to watch them work, and also the strategic elements of it, where they want to play to make sure they come out on top on the scoreboard rather than picking and choosing special shots. So it promises to be a really great game.
It does. You see a game like this, and yes, the playoffs in a bond split like this start on Sunday, but you make a strong case this is a playoff game. Like, the winner of this is through to tomorrow.
Yep.
The loser, again, there may or may not be tiebreakers. It's hard to know. There's still another round robin draw.
Yep.
After this one.
Yep. Well, when you got 2-2, you're not bad. You may be in the running, as you say, and who knows, maybe a tiebreaker. But 3-1 is even nicer.
You're watching scoreboards for sure.
Yep. So we're off to a quick start. Some draws, and then a hit and roll, which ended up being a little bit wide of target. But in comes our man Derek Samagalski, who's stepping in this weekend to support his team and looking for a nice little roll underneath some cover. This is over curling. Maybe that's what they want.
It might have been what they wanted. They might have been wanting to. I didn't see the call myself either, David. They might have been wanting to keep the play away from that tight corner guard when it belongs to Kleiter. All of these teams so good at their run backs, and they respect the other team's ability to make them.
Yep, they definitely were sweeping that to encourage the curl. So I suppose keeping it away and making sure the other team doesn't have an easy chance to bump and roll underneath cover. This one we'll see on the line. We're a little bit more patient and looking for some curl. Definitely trying to roll towards the guard. And they'll get a slight roll, but not much. Okay. Got the rock on the tee line now, at least. We're moving up.
We talked a little bit about the standings in the playoffs. We'll just to finish that thought, we mentioned there was 3 teams already at 3-0. There
Mhm.
right now are 6 teams at 2-1, including the 2 teams here in our feature matchup. 3 more teams at 1-2. Everybody at 0-3, and there are a few, have been eliminated.
Right.
But they could still play spoilers, and pride's always a factor.
Yeah. It's funny to play that last game knowing that you're already mathematically eliminated. When I was watching some of the coverage of the Brier, I noticed some of the commentators said, these teams are playing for pride. So I thought that was a pretty good line.
Well, they are, but
Yeah.
it makes those kinds of teams dangerous, right?
Oh, yeah.
You just talked about the tactical decisions that we're going to see here.
Mhm.
There can be times in a game like that where, because they've got no fear, they're not
Right.
worried about what they lose. They might
Right.
try a shot that they otherwise might not have tried, and if they make
Right.
it,
Right.
maybe you're in trouble. So it's a scary thing to play against a team that's got nothing to lose.
That's right. Risk tolerance is very, very high. Yeah. So we ended up with a rollout on the last shot, and that's opened up the door for Team Kleiter to basically just throw their very best effort at a draw behind the guard, which they managed quite well. It's well hidden. The only downside is it's come fairly deep in the house, which leaves Team McDonald a chance to just draw right in behind the guard as well and sit in a better spot. See how they manage.
This may be a little more comfortable for him coming around than the hit and roll earlier, because of course to play the run back now, there's also a rock at the back you've got to avoid jamming it onto. That one at the back is deep enough. You could actually come right down to it right now as well.
Yep. Yeah. Well, when he laid his broom down, he'll put it sort of on the edge of the 4-foot on the tee line, but I don't suppose he'll be upset if it's a hair deeper than that, as long as it's buried. The only downside to being a little deep is it means that Team Kleiter can come down and sit on top of it in turn, and they can end up with a big stack. Yep. Which is where he just put his broom.
Yeah, as long as it's that far back, you're fine. What you would have hated to do is be just behind the tee line. So your choices there were in front of the tee line or all the way back to it.
That's
nothing
right.
in between.
Yeah, perfect angle. At least in the very in the sense of line, they've done an amazing job with that. So
yeah, Kleiter's got to be careful for sure. If they freeze this on the same line, it's getting close to where you could see the yellow, and any kind of hit, the red probably stays in the middle, and both yellows could go. So you got to be careful here.
letting the rock catch the curl. It's great that they're watching and just allowing the rock to move. They know this line pretty well, considering we're in the first end. They seem to be managing it very nicely. Okay, pretty good little freeze. Still room.
I haven't gone back to look at the draw, but it's the 4th game for both of these teams, and it is only a 4-sheet facility. There is the distinct possibility one or both of these teams have already played on this sheet.
So we're doing the same shot. We've had essentially 4 shots in a row with the same line and the same ultimate goal. And this one looks at least heavy enough to get to the yellow. Question will be the line.
I'd love to get the same line they had on the last one. Get that little bit of angle. Tap the yellow red so that he breaks them up. Just a little off the angle.
Yeah.
Close, but he
hair
didn't want
heavy.
to roll off. Yeah.
Well, now that opens the door for a hit and a little roll over in front of basically his own rock to sit 2, and also to make life very, very difficult for Team McDonald.
Has to make the roll, though. If he just rolls half a rock, he's just going to queue up a yellow double, and the red's not going to get touched at all.
Yeah.
If you roll too far, and it's a pocket that he freezes into, there's some precision required here. I don't think we're headed for a blank.
Good call. Yep. No, we're as soon as you had that tight corner guard and an opportunity to use it, boy oh boy. So we are throwing a little bit more weight though than we have on the last one. So they are all draws. This one is definitely in the hack weight zone.
They were on the brush early.
Yeah,
They prefer not to over-roll on this.
I think that worked out pretty darn well. Slight corner freeze, and very hard to remove. Now, can we get shot rock? Awfully close. Here's the replay. Well managed by the sweepers. Yep. Very hard to remove, but they can, I suppose, outcount it if they corner freeze. But boy, oh boy. I don't think they could have asked for a much better result than that particular shot. That was quite nice.
A good corner freeze and move it maybe 2 inches, 3 inches, which, we're talking about a lot of precision, but you just need to break up the 2 yellows, and there still could be an angle to blast all the yellows and the reds might stay, which means that Rylan Kleiter's going to have to be careful with his last one as well.
Well, McDonald has hammer, and luckily, at the very least, he has a relatively free open path to the 4-foot and the button, should he need it on his last one. First things first.
Yeah, this is looking like it's going to come up a little bit light.
Over curling.
He's going to get second out of it.
Hard
I'm not sure.
Hard to tell.
I think Rylan pointed at the yellow.
Certainly a corner freeze, a little tap on the red, you could end up with a very nice looking profile and essentially force Jordon to throw a plain old draw to a very small target. Interesting. What is this coming up?
He's thrown a guard to take away some of that target.
Okay. So must be satisfied that he has a decent shot at saying 2 then.
Yeah, I think so.
All righty. So for Ryan, his final shot of the first end.
This is going to make things interesting. He's looking to get this guard just across the center line now. Jordon can see a piece of that yellow. I don't know whether he's going to look at, can you blast it? Because the second yellow comes straight back, jams on the red.
I was about to say this has to curl an awfully long way, but
it's got to stop.
Yeah, but it has ended up curling more than I expected it to. Okay, sit down. There you go. Now what?
Well, that might be the rings, because if you make a play on the reds and the yellows in the rings, and we appear to be frozen here a little bit, but if you make a play on the yellows in the rings right now, and there you see the guard on top of the stone in the 4-foot, and now Rylan looking to come around the corner guard.
Right. And then sit somewhere toward the center line. So this will be interesting. If he can go ahead and hit that hard enough to remove it and still stick around in a good spot, I think we'll be in great shape, at least as the end has started. Very, very nice. This is the 5th rock.
Now they do have to be a little careful coming by the guard.
Really nice. And here goes an attempt at a run back to basically open things up a little bit.
Had a quick discussion, I guess, about the corner freeze, but going to stick with the run back.
At least at this point in the end, I think that's a good idea. Trying to open things up gives you more possibilities.
Might get all 3 of them.
Ripple, not quite. Double.
Well,
and left a guard, which and sadly also put their opponent's rock well behind cover.
Yeah, I don't know how sad they are about that. They've got last rock here. When they rolled over, that's now a corner guard. And that redstone, as much as it is shot rock, it's deep enough you could freeze to that. You're around cover. Those are both rocks that Rylan Kleiter could use. Take one more look at this. Catches the second stone about half a stone, which is enough to catch the third one. And when they spun it over behind the guard like that, if you corner freeze to that, your stone is dead buried, and you can't get it out because there's another rock behind it too. I mean, you can't we already saw the McDonald team come down with a quiet weight tap around that guard and make it relatively easily. So now you've got a rock to protect it from the back. And this one coming around a corner guard, boy, you could argue that one might be just a little too deep too, because here comes Rylan looking at the freeze on top of it already.
I have to give these guys credit. Either they've been paying incredible attention to the ice as they've been playing. This is their 4th game, as you mentioned, or they're just really adapting quickly, but they are finding the lines incredibly well. These rocks are going by the guard by a minimum amount of space and curling nicely into position. Really impressive, both with weight and line. This is only the second end. This is really great.
This one's looking pretty good too, although maybe a little stronger than they would have liked. They might have liked to move it a couple of inches, but you had to get closer to the nose.
Yeah, it needed to hide a little bit more. Right now it's pretty much wide open. You can even...
Underneath now, you're probably high enough that freezing to it's not going to get you shot rock anymore.
Derek's trying to tell everybody that we got more weight than we need, trying to make it move a little bit, and right on the nose it's not terrible, but it certainly would have been better to have a little bit more curl there. Okay, so there exists a possibility of a double, but I think they're still trying to position the shooter once they bump red such that it's causing a little bit more trouble. I don't know if they can get shot rock out of this.
Well, I think he can. He doesn't have to roll dead in behind. If he just rolls half in behind cover, the other redstone will protect it from the back. And if he's just half in behind cover, he's probably still shot rock.
It's going to be close.
Can't roll directly in front of the red, though. You're right. If he was directly in front of the red, he won't be shot rock. This has got to curl a lot to roll that direction at all. Big roll to the other side.
Yeah, we're almost looking at the double that I mentioned before. I don't think that was the goal, but interesting result.
If you knew you could roll it that good, you might have played it.
Yep. We have
the yellow is second shot, but the yellow is buried and the red's now open.
No, the result is not terrible. I mean, I don't know that they meant to do that, but as you say, it's turned out quite nicely. Now what? So we're going to draw around, and I think maybe even draw right back to the yellow. If we can bump it and sit.
He's looking to move it. Same shot they played with the lead stones.
Yep. But I think this is interesting how they have managed to make really good use of corner guards. I don't remember seeing too many games, recently at least, at a high level where so many corner guards are actually actively being used. A lot of times they get thrown up and then we get distracted by throwing things in different places. Saying that, I'm wondering if they're going to catch this guard. No, well done.
Sometimes they don't even get thrown up.
Yeah,
I don't want to pick on anybody. I don't want to make it sound like I'm picking on anybody, but we watched the. You'd mentioned you were just back from the Briar. Rylan was at the Briar.
Yep.
Outstanding event. The final was a good game too, but I think there were only 2 corner guards thrown in the entire game.
No, it's true, and a lot of times, even if they are thrown. I find we get into sort of jousting matches in different parts of the house, and they end up, you sort of look at it later on in the end going, why did we throw those corner guards? They have been totally ignored for the whole end. And of course, you want to be able to use them, but then you end up dedicating yourself to some other cause. So this is an instance, both in the first and now in this second end, where we're seeing an incredible amount of use drawing around corners. And are we getting by? Just barely. Very nice shot.
Is it going to stop? Yeah. I think the reason they didn't want to sweep it early is because they knew it was a little deep.
All right.
Hang on for second. Who's got second?
I think yellow.
Well, that matters because shot rock is available.
Yeah. The broom just tapped yellow, so hopefully. And now we're going to ignore the red, interestingly.
You got to be real careful chasing around the corner guard without last rock, especially on that same side, because you leave a double. It would be to sit 2. So you don't have a ton of room here. You could make an argument, I guess, if you were just looking at the force here, which really that's all you're looking for. You could go to the other side, sit your two spread out. There's never going to be any chance for a double that way. You can make a good one here too, but you do have to have a lot more precision coming this way. You get to the tee line, you probably leave Rylan a chance to make a double and sit behind cover.
All righty. Another touch draw around the guard. And if the position is correct, we could end up causing a great deal of difficulty for our opponent. It really comes down to how much they can get around and how deep it goes in the house.
Really moving towards that guard.
Yeah.
This is a similar line to that last yellow one, but doesn't look to be as heavy as it.
Yeah, the weight's down.
And he's just not going to get by the front one.
All righty. So he has shot rock. And now we're looking at the option. As you mentioned, the red is available coming around the outside. The outturn's there, and then in theory, yellow can sit too.
Well, he can, and the fact that they just chipped over that yellow guard a little bit, you to take that red one out of the equation, it's not easy for Jordon McDonald to get to the yellow at the back if he just wanted to cut the end down. So, if, say, for instance, Rylan makes his hit and roll is in, Jordon doesn't have an easy shot to get rid of either yellow. This could turn into 3 in a hurry.
One thing it's hard for us to decide is what kind of weight they're throwing. Everything seems to be really a low finesse level weights, even when they're bumping rocks out of play.
Yeah, with that much ice, I got to think this is hack. Even back line, he doesn't necessarily have to kill the red. The key here is to get his shooter to the inside corner. This is close. This is real close. That's the only downside to that quiet little weight is, yes, he got to the inside corner, but he didn't have enough weight to roll in.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely less visible than the red was, but you're right. It would have been nice to have just even 2 or 3 more inches of roll toward the center.
Jordon doesn't have to get to the inside. He could play the double. That was the first thing they looked at.
Sure.
Play the double over the top, and he can see more than enough to make that.
Absolutely right.
Doesn't look like he feels comfortable flirting with that guard, though.
Well, we need to hit it off nose, but you're right. It's a fairly interesting line.
Yeah, it looks like about 2/3 at the most to make the double.
But we're already on the other side of the house looking at a draw.
Yep.
Unless he's playing a tap on his own. But I think this is just designed to draw in right to the top of the forefoot or even to the button.
This is scary because if you make this perfect, I'll tell you right now, and both of these teams would do it. They're both good young teams. You make this perfect, Rylan Kleiter is going to angle run that tight yellow guard in and try to score 3.
Absolutely. Yeah, he can't hide from everything.
Yeah, and there's a pretty good chance he's making contact, which I guess it depends on who you think is second shot. Like we think it's yellow, which means that Kleiter right now is sitting 2, and that run-in would be for 3.
Yep.
Maybe he's only sitting 1. Maybe they think he's only sitting 1. This would be less of a gamble if that was the case.
Well, first things first, just have to throw a really nice top button draw. Looks like the weight's really nice.
Really flirting with the guard.
All right.
So maybe had to flirt with the guard.
Yeah.
He might have come into the open.
And
You could whip it and try to pick it out.
Yeah.
Or you can still play the raise, and that's what they're looking at. I mean, they were considering this raise before he even threw.
I think you're right. Yeah. So yeah, they have the relatively straightforward angle raise. You do have to hit it pretty precisely, but even if you don't stick around, as long as you remove the red, you should be looking at it too.
Well, it's, if you knew for sure that he was going to play the run, then you might have wanted to put it in the back 4 foot like that. They've created as much separation as they could, so that ramps up the degree of difficulty on this shot. There's, what would you say, 9 feet between the two rocks, maybe 10.
Yep.
Rylan Kleiter with his final stone here in the second end. We think he's got second and third. Second for sure. Looking for the angle run. This could be for 3. On the brush. He's got to stay a little bit on the high side.
Oh, it's over curling.
Onto his own. Comes across, touches the red.
My goodness.
Well, now it really matters who's second.
And they didn't even have a look. Interesting.
Okay. They must have been
I
sure.
guess they must have already decided that the one yellow was closer. So I believe there's one red there.
So we think it's a steal of 1. Jordon McDonald with a 2-0 lead after 2 ends of play. Kleiter just missing his opportunity for 3. Will have last rock in the third.
Team Homan rocks. Team Mowat rocks. But who rocks harder? On April 7th, we'll find out. Presented by Rio Mare, join us in Toronto at the Curling Group's first ever Battle of the Sexes, as world number 1 Team Homan takes on world number 1 Team Mowat in a head-to-head charity curling skins game with a twist. 8 ends, 4 rule changes, and curling like you've never seen before. Watch it live on the Grand Slam of Curling website, app, and YouTube with celebrity coaches and special guest appearances. The Curling Group's first ever Rio Mare Battle of the Sexes, April 7th, Mattamy Athletic Center in Toronto. Get your tickets now at thegrandslamofcurling.com. Let's rock!
Looks like they left the stage. Wonder what I can do with that.
Alrighty.
Was a steal of 1. Jordon McDonald with a 2-0 lead as we begin here in the third. They threw up the center guard to begin the end and now looking to come around with the lead. Cameron Olofsson. We haven't introduced everybody yet. The second subbing in the gray and red. Derek Samagalski. Dallas Burgess is the third. Jordon McDonald, the skip in the house. They do get that stone into the 4 foot. Looks like it's just fully open. No tick zone in play here as well. So a little risky to go after it. And the Kleiter team asking lead Trevor Johnson to come around the corner that he put up with his first.
Yeah, this team seems to be playing quite well. They are coming off what I assume was a positive experience for them at the Brier. But you also have to think that there would be an element of emotional and physical fatigue. But they're managing to put together some nice shots and some wins so far. So it's great to see that for both of the two teams that have come off of the Brier. I think Sam Moybrook is doing quite well as well. Maybe not quite as well as Rylan, but it's great to see. Sometimes you think they need to all go on a holiday for at least a week after something like the Brier, but here they are, right back at it, and most impressive.
It's tough to go on a holiday for these teams that are chasing points. Of course, a factor in that, and that's why so many of the Canadian teams are here, is chasing points towards the Olympic trials and the pre-trials next fall. There's only 3 events. I believe it's 3 events. This one, the one in Swift Current next weekend, and then there's a Grand Slam. That's the last chance for teams to get points this year.
Right. And you're suggesting you can't afford to take a week off because points are there and you need to grab them when you can. Yeah.
Either maybe you need them or you need the other teams not to get them. If you're in that spot, you got to try to hold it.
Yeah, it's true. I've been working with some under 20 mixed doubles teams here in Ontario, and we have the under 20 Super Series where you sort of look around and go, oh, those 3 teams aren't here this week. That's nice, because then if we get points, we take a step up the standings just by virtue of being here. So it can be a big factor. You're right.
Matthew Hall with the tap gets the red just through the rings and rolls his shooter a corner underneath. Matthew Hall, the second for the Kleiter team, but he also is the vice. He will hold the broom for Rylan when it's Rylan's turn to shoot. And of course, the one we haven't mentioned yet, Joshua Mattern, the third, and a left-hander. They always have to throw one left-hander on a sheet just to mess up the announcer when we start talking about in-turn and out-turn.
Yeah. Just I like how at least at the world level they refer to clockwise and counterclockwise now, and they try not to say in-turn and out-turn, and that way life gets a little easier. So
there's you just brought up the U20s, and a lot of them wouldn't know clockwise and clockwise and counterclockwise. What are you talking about?
Well, it's true. I mean, I've been working on the ice sometimes with some curlers. Some of them have quite a bit of experience, and they says, I have a question. It's a bit embarrassing. I say, okay, and they say, oh, when you say intern, what exactly do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? So you have to explain what an intern is.
I'm not sure they know what clockwise means.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You're right. Yeah, clockwise refers to old-fashioned clocks. Absolutely. Well, we had a clock in our club, and one of the young kids said, well, clockwise, it means towards the clock. In other words, a clock on the wall in the direction of the clock. And I thought, well, actually, it not quite. It depends on what sheet you're on. Then clockwise is different. So,
and I don't know if this is an old wives' tale or not, but I guess I better give credit where it's due. This is an episode of The Simpsons, but they talked about how the toilet flushes one way in the northern hemisphere and the other way in the southern hemisphere, and maybe that's how we'll have to start talking about the turns. It's you're playing the northern hemisphere turn or the southern hemisphere turn.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Which way does your toilet flush?
That's it. Just think about the way the water swirls. That's clockwise. Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah. Well, we're looking at a couple of reds that are quite nicely positioned in the house, and this is another jousting match we have where the guards are up in front, and then we're trying to outdo each other in terms of positional play behind the guards.
Wow.
Incredible.
That was a good shot.
Mm-hmm.
That does not look like a big enough hole to come through with. Let's face it, he was only back 12-foot weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking at the same concept here for Jordon, and I think he's looking at throwing quite a bit more weight so that the rock can run a little straighter.
Yeah, and he definitely wants to remove the yellow. Would like to get the roll in behind here. He's going to get the nose. And no roll whatsoever.
No, they're trying really hard to help encourage some more curl at the end, but they, I think, based on the ice and the weight, they ended up just having a rock that ran pretty straight on them. Wide open, and there's still room for, I think, a little bit of a roll. Again, depends on the weight. And Rylan's looking at a lot of options.
Well, that wasn't even an option that he was talking about. He was talking about if we just roll dead underneath, we're going to leave a double on the yellows. So he'd like to roll far enough to be underneath the yellow, but you really can't do that with quiet weight. There's only about 2 inches of air.
Well, Broom position suggests similar weight to the last shot. We're talking, that was certainly board anyway, I think.
Could you make the double on the two back reds and roll behind the corner? You wouldn't be shot rock for now, but
this is turning into almost turning into a game of mixed doubles here. The center line guard and bumping and rolling in underneath. This could, oh my goodness, it didn't roll at all.
It's edge to edge, though. There's no roll for Jordan. And it stayed high enough. I don't think there's a double on the reds. Unless you want to run the guard back, you could.
Yeah.
You really could.
Okay, it looks like we're going to make a play on the top guard.
Yeah, I don't see any real risk to this. I mean, if you threw this absolutely horrible and just peeled the guard out, Jordan, you're still not in bad spot. The red can't go anywhere, and it's still lined up for double. But you're close to the nose on this. You could double the yellows and stay covered.
Well, if he throws it and he cracks it right on the nose, he'll end up removing a yellow rock and still have the guard in place. So I
think both yellows.
It could be. Yep, could be. Here we go. Let's see. 1-2. Absolutely. Well, that was superb. Wow.
One more look at it. Jordon McDonald, knowing all you needed to do was hit this right on the nose. So you'll see he makes the contact. He just gets out of the way. And then last minute, the raised stone was just a little off the nose and swept it even. It does look like there's room now for the left-hander we mentioned, Joshua Madden, with his out turn. Try to get to that shot stone, and he might be able to roll behind the corner for shot rock now.
Certainly, at least a big enough piece of the shot rock to take over the rank of shot. Unfortunately, it has rolled too far, and I believe red is still line 2. And that yellow rock that slid just that much too much is not really coming into play at all. My guess is it'll just be ignored. And then we're looking at a nice draw again, undercover here, top of the button.
Probably just biting the forefoot. You come to the top of the button, Rylan will play the double off the one on the side. Jordan had to make and unfortunately we had some technical difficulties, so those watching didn't get a chance to see it. Had to make an outstanding draw, just chisel in off of one of his own to get the single in the first end.
Right.
He's definitely had his weight. Made the nice draw last into the back of the forefoot to get the steal.
Yep, the pressure has certainly, at least as we've got to the end of each of these ends so far, has been on Rylan and the yellows. Certainly, Jordan's succeeded in keeping things very, very aggressive. And we're trying again. Now, this rock is coming up a little short and not even good enough to be third shot. Oh, dear. At least it's in the way, but I think the Kleiter team has the option to just come in with the other turn.
They do. You could certainly make an argument that he maybe should play it as the hit and roll. This is interesting. We've seen Matthew Hall has left the surface a couple of times. I don't know whether he's struggling with some illness or not. He's usually the guy in the house, so he's obviously not on the ice again right now.
Well, good 3-man discussion. Maybe this extra time will allow their fourth to reappear. Oh boy.
Well, I wondered if they wouldn't look at that hit and roll, because here's the thing. If you want to bring that side one back in, if you get the hit and roll under cover, certainly with the amount of curl we've seen on this ice, you could get to that back stone with enough weight to move it. It brings 3 into play if you make the roll.
Right. And also just removing one of the counters for your opponent. I mean, if they're sitting 2 and you can hit and roll as opposed to draw, then you were definitely reducing their tally, and I suppose their level of aggression changes when they're trying to defend. So it looks like they did end up deciding to go with the hit and roll in the end, and ideally they'll just come right across and sit right under cover. I suppose based on the way the rocks are set, this should end up close to the button. And one sweeper.
Yeah, interesting thing here is if you don't roll buried, if you just roll edge to edge, it's still a problem for Jordon McDonald because he's got to get it by that stone at the back.
Yeah, there's a bit of a variability or tolerance for it.
You do. You've got some tolerance for sure.
Okay.
This is close.
Yeah, needs to move.
Makes the hit. Makes the roll.
Very nice. Just biting the top of the button.
Well, and you couldn't have rolled that to a better spot either because it rolled just far enough to be shot and buried on the one in the top 12, but you've got room to get by it and get to that stone at the back of the 8-foot if you have that opportunity with your last one.
And far enough over that there's not really a run back option. I think that worked out very nicely.
Any run back would be risky right now too.
Well, they should stick with one sweeper more often.
To be fair, most of the teams on most of their shots, they're only using one sweeper anyway.
Maybe right. And a cheerleader.
The second one doesn't usually come in until you need it to curl.
Straight draw, I believe.
Yes, yeah. Has to get a chunk of this around too. You don't want to leave a double.
It's nice to see this confidence level in this young skip. There wasn't a lot of hesitation to say, no problem, we'll just draw the button. This needs to stop curling.
The curl's not the problem. It kind of needs to slow down because if he chisels off, he's going to leave a double. And he did.
Okay.
That's a double for 3.
Just off nose. Maybe a little bit.
That's interesting. Rylan's first thought was to try to get to the nose. I thought he might go across the face with quiet weight. You don't have to move that second one very far.
Yeah, you just have to make sure that you don't you drive the red straight into the other red. You have to run it across either side.
You have to make a definite choice because the two shot, if you're playing either or, that's when you hit it right in the middle. And it's quite a different contact to make the across the face. You can certainly make it across the face on this ice.
Well, based on the ice.
The nose is tough, but I think you can make it too.
I think we're hitting it on the high side. And we'll have to have a look. It also depends on the weight he throws. The good news is it's relatively easy to make 2 here, and there's a chance for 3. And that brings him right back into the game, which is nice. Silence from the house.
He's in the ballpark. Here comes the curl. It looks like they're trying to go straight back, and that would have been a good time to maybe switch to a plan B.
Oh, 2. Still
jams it on the back one, picks up his deuce, and we're all tied up. 3 ends in the books, and it'll be Jordon McDonald with the last rock when we come back for the 4th.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed? More innovation?
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. when I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Welcome to the rockshop.net, the official store for the Grand Slam of curling. Whether you're looking for the best hats, stylish clothing, fun toys, or unique accessories, the Rock Shop has it all. Shop online anytime at therockshop.net for exclusive Grand Slam of curling gear, or come see us in person at your next event. Therockshop.net, where fans find their favorite curling gear.
Stronger agronomics, better returns, greater peace of mind. From pre-seed to post-harvest, you can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
All tied up as we begin play here in the fourth. The center guard thrown up to start the end and does have just a piece of that center line, so it's in the no-tick zone as well. Here comes the corner. If it stops, it's going to be a tight corner.
Well, we are seeing some amazing play and a really good quality use of guards in this game every end so far, and we haven't had anything even remotely resembling a blank. And even we haven't even seen a lot of clearing of guards. You know, times when you would see, okay, come up and they're going to start peeling guards, and everything's going around, tapping, moving around, and it's been a great battle.
Looking for the come around here. A ton of room by the guard, and with that late finish, he's still going to end up, well, 2/3 behind cover.
Are we officially missing somebody on Team Kleiter, or is this just he's taking a break when it comes to sweep? I haven't noticed.
Well, we'll find out in a minute because he throws the second stones.
Okay.
We had noticed that he'd left the ice a couple of times, so you got to think he's fighting some sort of illness, and looks like Trevor Johnson getting ready to throw a third stone at the end, so that might mean Matthew Hall's not coming back in this game. We'll keep an eye on it. This shot here is one of those ones where, and maybe they would have played the freeze anyway, but I think this is the unintended consequence of that no tick zone, and I really like it because in years past, you would have maybe gone after that stone in the top of the forefoot and said, let's play a hack waiter, and if we rub the guard, so be it. But you can't do that now, because if you rub the guard, that's a miss. Everything goes back. So you have to play a very precise shot. Whereas, like I said, before it was an area play. You just, we'll try the hack waiter, and if we don't get by, we'll be fine. But you can't do that now. You got to pick one shot or the other and make it. So they played the freeze. It's a little safer. But now it means we've got a few more rocks in play.
Absolutely. No, you're right about the idea of coming around the guard. I mean, in some ways, I mentioned this earlier in the game, and you feel as if you're watching a mixed doubles game, where the centerline guard is there, and they're coming around and stacking rocks in the top of the 8-foot. That one was a little deep, but they managed it quite nicely. So now we've got 2 yellows, both counting.
Yeah, but that was the 5th stone. I think something's coming back now.
Yeah, I was going to say they have to do something about accessibility here. So it's either peel the guard or do a straight run back.
You hit this right. All 3 yellows could go, and the red's going to be sitting in there in the rings by itself.
Right.
Just ever so slightly across the face on the red, and I think all 3 yellows go.
Well, we're close. We are close. 1, 2, 3. Come on. Well, they encouraged that yellow to go out, but I tell you what, it's still a pretty darn nice shot.
Yeah, and he got the guard off the center line, even if it's only a rock's width.
Yellow has a chance to come down now, hit and roll on line 2, and hopefully at least one of them under cover. But that's a darn nice shot. Doubled off those 2 yellows that looked so nice in the 4-foot. All of a sudden, they're just gone. So a little down weight. Tap and roll. And push this red out at the back. Incredible finesse weight control with these little shots they're doing. You need to make sure that rock gets out, or at least far enough that it's not second shot. Just barely.
Borderline there. I'd have to see a replay myself, but that was borderline that I'm not sure Rylan didn't start sweeping that before it crossed the tee line. I snuck a peek at the replay. He started sweeping, but he was behind the tee line where he was sweeping, so he was okay.
Except did the rock get to the tee line before he started sweeping?
It hadn't, but that's a little bit of a that part of it's a little bit gray. He didn't sweep anything in front of the tee line.
It's not gray in the rules. It's gray in what people do.
You'd never get any, but you'd never find an official that would call that though.
Yeah. It's one of the things that an older member of my club used to always say, don't start sweeping until it hits the line. I said, okay. So I've been very well trained. And a lovely tap back. Unfortunately, the angle didn't work out as well as they had hoped. All right.
Well, and in a few ways it didn't work out that right, because now they've rolled the guard back to the edge of the center line as well. And
now yellow has a chance to lie 3 and hopefully bury this one underneath the center line guard. Red is hammer. Team McDonald thankfully has hammer, so yellow's just trying to basically set themselves up for an obvious force. But I tell you what, we've seen some steals already this game, so.
Well, they can definitely get half the button. Now, maybe weren't looking for it on the first one. That's one of those ones that's almost scary. If you dead bury that, these teams, again, so good at the run backs, and they all know it, right? You know it about your opposition, too. If you dead bury it, you let him play the run back, and if he absolutely dead sticks it, now he's covered his own in the 4-foot. So you try to offset that draw, as they've done. It's only about half in behind, because now he can't play that. If he sticks the run back, he's going to roll the guard off.
Right.
At least a little bit.
Now we're playing the one in the house. It's at least half open. The right weight, accessible, but they're going to roll into the open. This needs to curl. This reminds me of a shot made by a very famous skip that we saw at the Briar. My goodness, just a little bit set the rock out as he let go, and it never came back.
Well,
all right.
Now there might not be a run back available either. You overlap these guards, assuming this guard's made. You overlap it. And you might have to play some kind of double peel just to make sure you got a way to get in with the last one.
Are you looking to put this touching the house, or are you putting it out front?
Oh, well, I'm not. I'm putting it up front, but you want to get it underneath that red a little bit. And the reason I'm not trying to put it in the house, the deeper this comes, the easier it is for Jordon McDonald to try to come over the top on the double peel and get the stone in the 4-foot as well. You'd like to leave this up nice and high. You know he's going to play the double peel. You can't do anything about that. You don't want to give him the chance to go over the top and run it back. This is a really tight guard.
Yes, I was going to say it's a little deep, because Rylan did come up and tap his broom, as you indicated, right in the front of the house. I just wondered about getting a little biter almost at the top of the 12, just to make things look more interesting for yellow. Counting 4.
I understand that. Maybe with the last one you would, but this early it gives him the chance to go over the top and get that stone out of the top 4-foot. That stone's a potential steel rock right now.
Here comes, I guess this was supposed to be a run back, but it's turned into a peel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that makes this one an easy call.
Basically replace it.
Yeah, I don't even think I want to be that tight. The tighter you are here, the better the chance he tries to get all 3 of them. Halfway dead lined up is what's he got? What is being that much tighter really change? This has been a rather sudden turnaround in this end, as you said earlier, David. They were when they were drawing in to sit 3 in the first place. It was just looking like a solid chance for a force.
Yep.
Now they're in a really good steal situation.
You can see the level of aggression of the choices for the shots as the end has worn on. You're absolutely right. So they have an opportunity here if they can really guard this up nicely to make life very difficult for Team McDonald. Let's see.
This needs to stop or it's going to overcurl.
Well, it's almost exactly where he tapped his broom. So that to give him that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little deeper than you and I like, but he certainly seemed to think that was about the spot. So now what? Straight back?
Well, yeah, you have to play the run.
All right. So Team McDonald with hammer has first skip rock and essentially is trying to move a lot of yellow.
Yeah.
And open things up more than anything. Just get things opened up so that there are options for the final shot.
Yeah, he'd love to have a better option than draw to the piece of the button you can see.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
that's not a comfortable option.
Yeah. That old expression we're hearing more and more now, shrink the scoring zone. Yes, this is a very small scoring zone right now.
He's in the ballpark. He's got 1. He's got 2. He's got 3. Comes across, touches the 4th one, but just touches it.
Yeah. That 3 yellows are all gone. So you can't complain. And I suppose you could say that there's a lot more opportunity now for red with the final shot.
Yeah,
because they can go both ways, both in turn and out turn.
Yeah, I hate to pick on him too much because I know Rylan pretty good. He's a good young fella, but I don't know why they felt they needed to put the guard that tight.
Yeah, it did make a difference, and you're
quite right. That's a much harder run back if it's 4 feet higher.
Yep, no, you're absolutely right. Or either that, or you start thinking about, well, maybe we'll just come around and try and put it somewhere good. So they got out of jail, and this will be a draw, hopefully right under the center guard. And again, make life difficult for his opponent to score.
He's got good line, but I don't know about the weight. They're going to have to go on this one. Trevor Johnson on the brush, trying to drag this in as far as he can. He'd like to at least get a piece of the 4-foot. It's going to come up short. It is full 8. And he does have a sliver underneath the guard. Sitting 3, it would be pretty risky for Jordon to go after it. So he's going to look at the draw, and to play the draw, he's got to make sure he gets by the one that was just thrown. So he's got to get into a different path.
Yep. This one will be going out quite wide compared to what we've seen. However, he's got a great opportunity considering how things looked 2 or 3 shots ago. So nice and smooth. T-line weight. Should be in good shape to at least get his single point. And yellow, Team Kleiter can be happy that they forced, because they really had control of this end, it seems.
Final stone here of the 4th end. Tie game. Jordon McDonald facing 3. Needs to almost bite the 4-foot here. He's going to have to go wide to get around the stone that Rylan Kleiter just threw.
Line looks really good. The question is the weight. The sweepers are not even thinking about sweeping this.
And the reason they're not thinking about sweeping this is it's a little strong. Now the question is, how far back will it go?
Okay.
Through the 4, through the 8, and enough that it's a steal of 1.
Wow. So both teams have had a steal now. Wow, that's amazing.
And with that steal, Rylan Kleiter takes the 3-2 lead after the 4th end. It'll be McDonald with last rock once again in the 5th.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardline's ice pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best broom in the game. Hardline. Join the revolution.
SaskTel Be Kind Online wants to stop cyberbullying. Want in on the action? We award up to $1,000 for youth initiatives that help spread kindness and prevent bullying. What great idea do you have to help stop bullying? SaskTel can help. Go to BeKindOnline.com and apply for a grant today. Together, we can make a difference.
For over 20 years, the Sandra Schmirler Foundation has granted more than $9 million to hospitals across Canada for life-saving equipment for premature and critically ill babies. In the past 4 years alone, $4 million has been granted thanks to
As we begin play here in the fifth end, Jordon McDonald has that accursed hammer that has so far only scored once yet in this game. Or pardon me, I guess he did get his single in the first end with the hammer. It was a good draw, but he was in some trouble.
Yeah. But yeah, we went score, steal, and score, steal. So had stolen points and an interesting turnaround in the score.
And that score in the first end was against two in the 4-foot.
Yep.
He had to make the draw. So certainly both teams have been putting on a little pressure without last rock.
Yep, and the pattern of very aggressive play, the guards, and then the draw shots is repeating itself. I think this one is just a little bit more open and available, and so we're going to be looking at a hit rather than another draw.
Well, I would guess the first guard was a little higher than they would have liked to.
Compared to the other ones.
We were still at commercial, so I don't know that we didn't see the call, but that they didn't sweep that like they were trying to play a second guard, and that first one is pretty high to protect anything by itself. Cameron Olofsson being asked to make a play on that stone in the 12-foot row behind the corner.
Incredible level of finesse in these hit shots. Just pushing rocks back, rolling to the right place. That rock, look at that, it's just in the back 8.
Yeah, didn't get the roll they were looking for either. I think that just light more than anything else. They were sweeping for line all the way down. If you throw 6 to 8 feet more weight out of your hand, you don't have to sweep that quite as hard, and you get the roll.
I mean, we can't question what they're doing out there, but even people, mortal curlers like you and me, we would at least want to say the yellow would go out. Maybe not flying out, but at least remove it. So, okay, that's an interesting shot. Is it going to stick around? That didn't roll onto the house, which is...
With the way they play it these days, I don't mind that the yellow stayed, but you got to get the roll. You got to have one or the other. Either you got to get the roll, and he just didn't have the weight to give himself a chance. But with that one rolling out, they've got a chance to use the corner guard.
Yep.
This looks like a tough draw right now just because of the reverse stagger on those guards and how much they seem to move late. By the time you're by the center guard, the way it moves towards the corner.
Yeah, they have to throw at least T-line weight, I think.
It's probably there, but visually it's not going to look good. Fairly close to the yellow. plenty of room by the other one, but part of the reason he's got plenty of room is it's a little deep. They're taking it back now just so you can't freeze. If you freeze on it once, they want a room to get there twice.
Mm-hmm. And I think this turned out nicely. Certainly the line is excellent.
Yep.
Yep.
They talked about following it down. It's always a little risky to be chasing around a corner guard when you don't have last rock. Josh Mattern with the out turn for the left-hander, trying to come through the port. It might run just a little bit straighter.
It looks as if they're really comfortable with the lines. These guys are both calling and throwing the rock really, really nicely. It's a question of weight, making sure that it doesn't overdo it and bounce out into the open. But this is a beauty.
If you were to walk down and put it in the spot, that's where you would have put it.
Yeah, that's barely made it up just to touch the red. Lovely freeze. And here we go again. The same basic shot. Interestingly, the broom is not in the same spot. But I guess when you're two different throwers and one's a lefty.
Yeah, exactly. This has got tighter line than the last one did, and if he crosses the face of that yellow, he'll be third shot. I'd like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really tempting not to even play over there anymore. You're already sitting two. You'd like to get the play away from the corner anyway. This is your chance.
Just need to make sure your third shot. Top 8.
Yeah, I'm going to argue with you a little bit, David. I think you have to be shot here. If you're still just third, he can play that draw one more time and try to get something to the inside corner.
Yeah,
you have to make
I mean, it has to be better than the Reds, but you're right. It should be shot number 1 is what you're saying.
I think you have to make, if you're Rylan Kleiter here, you have to make Jordon McDonald's team play this rock.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I see what you're saying. I absolutely agree with you.
Even if now
that you mention it.
Even if you over curl the guard so that he can't roll in towards that corner, but I think you have to make him play this stone.
Well, the sweepers are not at all concerned about weight. A little bit of extra help.
Yeah, it kind of looks like this is more about line. Trying to help it over now.
Yeah, it worked out quite nicely. It's not 100% buried, but it's pretty close.
You would have liked that to curl more because that guard's so high, and if you can get to it from the outturn side, and you saw Jordan already indicate you can roll towards that other yellow and at least maybe unlock it.
Well, they're definitely signaling that there's a shot there to bump and roll over, as you say, and kind of sit in that little pocket on the side. First things first, we have to get rid of shot rock. Looks like they're not really throwing a lot of weight, though.
Well, he's debating two options. Do we try to get close to the nose and just tap it straight back, which is just heavy draw? Or you play the hit and roll. I'm partial to the hit and roll because like there's no hole. You're not rolling between anything. Even if you roll into the side of the red, like you're going to be shot rock when you make the roll over there.
Yep.
And you've got the end. That's where you want to play the end anyway, is over on that corner.
Yeah, it's almost, if you do make contact, it's hard to miss in terms of the roll.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it.
Okay, here we come. We need a little more weight, though, than they've been throwing. They did these incredibly soft hits. I think we need a little more extra juice to get the roll over.
Probably bumper.
Yeah.
Good bumper here. By the front one. Gets the piece, comes across, and does unlock him just a little bit.
And
that red's not going anywhere.
Shot rock, and pretty much locked up.
You'd need 2, or maybe because the first time you hit it, the yellow's going to jam. You need 2 for sure to get that red out. You might need 3. Rylan's looking at the run. I think that's pretty dangerous because, again, you run the yellow onto the red. That red's liable to come all the way across the rings and kill the yellow out of the other side.
I don't know about you, but I'm looking at it from above thinking I'd love to see this. I don't know what will happen, but it's certainly be interesting to see, especially if they throw some weight at this. Or the other idea is to drive back either of the top 2 rocks into this pile rather than trying to come into it. Okay, this one is just...
Problem is that red's not... It doesn't look like the red's leaving no matter how you do it. So Rylan's thinking it might be able to go through all the yellows.
No,
if it touches the one right behind it, I think it's going dead straight sideways into the yellow on the other side.
You run the yellow back into the reds. At least 2 reds will go.
Where's my telestrator?
Yeah, exactly. We need to be able to do a Russ Howard with lots of arrows.
The issue is whether or not it touches that, so that red, yellow, and the 8-foot, that they're essentially frozen, and there's a little bit of air between them. But if you played that run, if that red touches the yellow, after it touches, it's going to go straight across into the yellow on the other side, and then it's a chance for them to draw it for 2. So he is going to play the draw one more time. This is tough too, because you kind of need to break those up, don't you?
Yeah, I think if you come down and sit just inside nose of the shot rock and hopefully just sit there, you're
thinking dead freeze, or do you have to wiggle it a little bit? Just, it's scary with the run back opportunity and that red. If there's absolutely no wiggle room, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, well, you do want to A/B shot and then B, hopefully put it so it's hard to remove. The line looks great on this. I just don't know if they have to wait.
Even if he gets there, he's not getting by the first red in the rings. It's just dead light.
Only 1 rock is not in play at this point, so there's an awful lot of granite. And it looks like we're just simply trying to get rid of yellow granite at the back. And then, I don't know what Team McDonald has planned.
Well, this is one where you get rid of this yellow and possibly 2 yellows here, just depending on how you hit this. And now that 1 yellow in the 8-foot is starting to look pretty lonely. Rylan Kleiter's got to be real careful where he puts his next stone. Whether you make the double or just hit and roll in front of the other yellow, both are good. You don't want to dead jam it.
Well, it's not perfect, but at least...
It's not bad, though. You're sitting shot 3rd and 4th.
How does yellow respond? I think
That
they
is
have to come down and sit in the pocket.
How do you get there?
Well, I think it's just a plain old draw. Half frozen on half of the red.
But with the center guard there, I don't think you can get there with the draw.
Yeah, it's awfully close. You're right. Yep.
You
Draw weight will curl too much.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
That draw, even with the reverse stagger, and both teams made it so many times already this end, it already looks tight with the long yellow guard and the tight red guard. Well, now try to get around that yellow in the top of the 12-foot as well. I don't think it's there. And the yellow curled far enough, I don't think you could tap it on the angle you need it either. I don't think you could get to the nose and tap it back for shot rock.
Well, I think Team Kleiter shares your indecision, because they're standing and staring at it, thinking to themselves, "What are we going to do?"
Well, Rylan keeps looking at it, but I don't think it's there. And if you try it and you rub off the yellow and end up in the 8-foot somewhere, you might leave Jordon McDonald a double to get that rock out of the back 8-foot, and then he's sitting maybe 4. So I don't think you want to be messing with that. I think they're going to go back to the same draw they played earlier in the end, come around the middle from the outturn side And they didn't get far enough underneath on that one. If you're missing this one, you've got to if you're not missing dead buried, I think you got to be over buried here. You can't leave this where he can roll into that pile again.
That's true.
You're
right. You're right that it is a simple draw. Curl around the center guard.
And if you're going to miss it, you got to miss it on a miss dead lined up. You got to miss it where you're slightly over buried. Make him come at it from the other turn.
Well, we
Not
seem
much of the
satisfied
brush
with
yet.
the weight.
This looks tighter by the guard than the one earlier in the end, but it looks like a lot of weight yet too. They're going for curl. Yeah, it's a little deep. This isn't bad though. There's not going to be a double off this one, and it did over curl, peeks out just a little bit on the other side.
All right, no hesitation from Team McDonald. Coming down, essentially tapping. I think nose means you're lying 2. And then that we're going to buy a few options for the final shot. And then a 2 for the Red Rocks. Team McDonald will be a nice rebound after giving up a steal last end.
You know, they didn't talk about it. They didn't think about it.
You're right.
It'd be tempting to just roll out on this. And the reason why, I'll tell you why, David, is you make the hit on this and stay in the back. Rylan's going to make a play on it. If he stays, you're going to have a shot for 2 for sure. But if you roll out and Rylan tries that same draw again and leaves it at the top of the tee line, you might have a double for 4.
Mm.
And I don't think there's any, that guard is so long, I don't think there's anywhere he can put it around it that you can't chase it. You have to stay in the back of the house and you're never getting more than 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Now Rylan hits that on the nose and you're never getting more than 2.
So we're going to try and hit and roll
Yep.
so that you come back to the center underneath the guard. Or would you even be, yeah, I guess I was going to say, could you roll a little bit away? But the thing is,
you could go behind the center. This is deep enough now that it's not going to leave a double. Even if you rolled half a rock out in the open, it's behind the other yellow stone. So there's no double. I'd have been tempted. They didn't think about that very long. I'd have been tempted to roll that out. Because what does Rylan do? If that red's not there, what does he do? The same shot? Well, there's a lot of places he can put that it's very bad, and you're always going to have a shot for 2.
okay. So it looks like the line's pretty good, although it's shaping up to be not much of a roll. And red will basically follow with hammer. And this is for 2.
I think it's only the second last rock hit attempt we've seen in this game, too. It's all been draws where they had to have a piece of the forefoot. It doesn't always work, but this time, Jordon McDonald needs the nose hit to pick up his deuce.
I think you may have made a point about having a longer guard. We didn't have any run backs because that top guard is so far out that the run back is just a bit of a dream. Here we go. I think everybody likes it.
Puts it right on the nose.
Hit and stick for 2.
Jordon McDonald retakes the lead. It's now 4-3 after 5 ends of play. Kleiter to have last rock in the 6th.
The people have spoken, the votes are in, and the players are ready to rock. At curling's first ever All-Star event, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th, where 13 of the world's best men's and women's curlers face off for a star-studded celebrity pro-am. a unique skills competition, and an all-star skins game you won't want to miss. Got a ticket? We'll see you in Music City. Don't have one? Better hurry. They're going fast. The 2025 TCG All-Star Game, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th. Let's rock.
Hi there, Jim Hale for S3 Air Systems. Today we're going to talk about their new product, UFO Aeration. Here you can see the completed, durable, powder-coated steel frame construction and the large mega louver design that allows 4 times more airflow than traditional steel louver designs. Here I'm just bolting the stage halves together. You can see how the components lock together with just a counterclockwise twist for different aeration needs, where you can add and remove stages. Just remember that once there's grain in the bin, you can't change how many stages are in it. Please empty the bin before you change the number of stages.
And I are trying to make a comment on live.
Live we are. First stone of that 6th end brought into the top of the button area. The corner guard going up now. Jordon McDonald's got a good stone in that top button. Probably wants to force the play a little bit here, so they'll look to guard it now. This is just dictated by the score. You know that Rylan Kleiter is going to try to score in the even end, so you can throw the first one into the rings. He's not going to hit it. Whereas if you throw that first one as a center guard, sometimes your opposition will go around it. I don't think Rylan would here.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if they would have gone it, but either way, you can go center guard, come around, or come around center guard. So this is looking really nice. Needs to get a little piece of that center line so we can avoid any ticks. Perfect. And now the come around. Oh, nope, we're changing our mind.
Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure what he was gesturing. Now, I've seen Rylan use that gesture before, the two-handed one, and it's usually got something to do with which way things are going to roll later on. And I'm not 100% sure in this one myself, even what he's thinking of it, but he's thinking about things are going to roll that way later on, obviously.
Yeah, it's interesting sometimes when the skip will say, well, we can do A or B, which one you like, and then they're almost letting the person in the hack call the shot, whichever he prefers. In this case, we definitely are going around the center, which is fine. And if we get right up in a little bump, I think that's a pretty nice position to be in. Behind the corner is going to happen at some point, or even if it's as a roll from something else.
Well, I'm almost surprised he didn't come at the freeze from the other side, because then you cue it up to roll towards the corner, although maybe he just felt he knows that side better.
I haven't been paying close enough attention in all the ends, but the odd time you'll have a curler who just happens to be more comfortable throwing in turn versus out turn. And so when you say, okay, well, when so-and-so is drawing, it's going to be an out turn. And that is another pretty good follow, although it's now wide open to bump and roll.
He bounced a little too far, and he probably moved the red far enough into the open that you could play the hit and roll. You're going to play the one at the top of the 4-foot first, but that one at the back button now is probably accessible on the in-turn side.
Absolutely. But first things first, we bump the red and then sit 2 at the top of the 4-foot. It's a nice position to be in, especially if you can line up the 2 yellows so that they line up with the back one.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Just to get over just a little bit more.
Oh, it's close.
Almost. Yeah. Not too bad.
You could probably get to the inside of that yellow and move it. You'd sure have to be careful. You hit it on the nose. It's yellow onto the red. And there's not a ton of daylight there.
They're trying it. Just have to keep the weight under control. Derek seems to be playing really comfortably out there with this team. I don't know how busy he's been this year in terms of the number of rocks he's been throwing or the number of games he's been playing, but he seems incredibly comfortable.
Yeah, he did continue to play a little bit after leaving the Carruthers team. He joined forces with Jacques Gauthier, and they played through the Manitoba playdowns. They qualified for provincials with only 3 players. They didn't have a fourth. Well, technically, I think they registered. I can't remember his first name, but it was Jacques' father. But he never played a game, so they had 4 registered. Played with 3, qualified for provincials that way, and actually had a decent run at provincials. They made the playoffs. Don't know how much he's played since Manitoba provincials. That's
some pretty good quality curlers in that threesome. So not a surprise to see them do well. Interesting little roll there. We talked about how there's going to be somebody behind the corner guard when it rolls. There we go. A little deep, however. Going back to the centerline guard. And Team McDonald is definitely succeeding in putting some pressure on Team Kleiter in this end.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything till we see where this one ends up. It's debatable who's in a better spot right now. Both of the red stones that are in the rings behind the tee line, I'll be shot rock just barely behind the tee line. You sure can't leave him the corner guard side of that rock, or he hits and rolls to frozen behind the corner.
Spine is looking really good. The sweepers are obviously sure that the weight's plenty, but needs to curl up and just finish nicely. Pretty good. You did say about showing the corner guard side.
Yeah, well, that's the wrong side to show, but he didn't show very much of it.
Yeah.
And he's so tight, they're going to try the run.
And roll behind the other corner.
Yeah, just what I'm wondering, if you just miss, if you make the run over the top, are you rolling the shooter into the rings? It'd be close. Makes the hit, catches the second one. Enough to spill it out of the rings. McDonald now just sitting the one, that back 12 behind the corner. Suddenly looking a lot better for Rylan Kleiter. You make the come around on that tight yellow now, and it's a pretty short run back.
But they are looking at trying to bury one on the top of the button. I can't seem to decide whether they want to come in turn or out turn. Finally, we've decided on the out turn.
It's not comfortable no matter which turn you played from it. This is another one of those ones, and we talked about this earlier. You don't ever want to bury this dead, because you dead bury it and they absolutely stick the run back, you're in trouble. But if you only leave it half buried, again, they can play the run back and hit and roll behind a corner. It's not a comfortable situation here for McDonald, even though he's sitting one and drawing to sit 2.
Wow. Almost lost that, but it obviously has got plenty of weight.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't mind the deep. They probably don't like the fact that it peaked out that far in the open.
Yep.
That's the shot I like.
Yeah, in-turn hit and roll with a reasonable amount of weight, because it's got to travel a little distance after it does make contact, but I think we're looking at a pretty good opportunity to rebound.
But I will tell you right now, though, it'll be the out turn hit and roll.
Okay.
Because Josh is the left-hander.
Oh, I was going to say, how would they throw an out turn? How are they ever going to get across? But now, yes, right. Well, good old Josh. They're giving this some extra thought, but I'm not sure why. It's one of those times when they have this extra conversation and everybody says, what are they talking about?
He might have wanted to see if and he did come down to take a look. When you hit this, can you still stay in front of that other red? Maybe he thought he was going to go into the side of it, in which case he stays wide open. But it looks to me like they can get to stay in front of the red in the back 12.
Well, relatively tight ice, and we're going to see a little bit of speed, certainly enough to remove the one red and make sure the angle's right for the roll. This looks like it's over curling.
Probably not getting by. Oh, does. But ends up just in between. Didn't get the nose hit and didn't get the roll.
Wow. Impressive that they managed to get it past that guard. I thought we were going to hit the guard.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, where's it going to go after the guard? It probably would have put the guard into the rings, which wouldn't have been the worst thing.
So, red responds. Team McDonald responds by a hit and roll back underneath the centerline guard, lying to, and life becomes that much more difficult with the hammer for Team Kleiter.
Skip stones left to come here in this sixth end. McDonald with a 1-point lead. Looking to hit sit 2. He needs to roll behind cover so that he doesn't allow a double.
And even if he rolls a little more rather than a little less, well, I'm not sure he rolled as much as he would have liked.
No, I don't think he did.
It looked as if it was going to hit at a nice angle, but these rocks just sometimes aren't jumping as far as you think they might. Alrighty.
Well, they've discussed both options, but I never know how comfortable you are. That's Rylan looked at rolling behind, and Josh looked at rolling over to the corner. It does look like he could see more of the rock this time for sure. It does look like if he wanted to, he could get to the inside of it. If he's playing to get to the inside of it, you saw him just tap back 8. He doesn't have to kill it if he's trying to get to the inside. It's more important to get the roll underneath.
It seems more risky to stay in the middle. If he hits and rolls slightly under and his opponent comes down, even if he comes down and just freezes, then the most we'll be looking at is 1. So he's got to be pretty darn deadly.
He'll be in front of the tee line, well in front of the tee line. He'll be just biting the top of the button. If he makes the hit and roll, and Jordan freezes, he's going to have a piece of the button to draw to for 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a yellow guard with a bunch of reds at the back, so I can't see Jordan running it back. That's too risky. The key here is to get across the nose, and as you said, David, we've seen a few. We saw it happen a couple of times already this game where they've gotten rocks to where they thought they needed to hit them, and it just didn't roll very far. He needs to be buried on this.
Well, the line's pretty good. Definitely by the guard. Now it needs to just...
It's not going to roll buried, though.
Not the tiny... Couldn't get the tiniest little roll. My goodness. All right. So hit and roll under cover. And then make your opponent draw for... Basically to draw for 1.
Yeah.
A force is not a bad thing, even though it's the 6th end. If it's just 1 point and you can counter with a 2 the next end, that's setting up nicely. Here we go. Don't know if it's just me, Sean, but I feel as if I'm seeing more and more people throwing with the corn brooms, the old corn brooms wrapped in about a mile of tape. But I feel like I'm seeing them more often now. used to be just one or two here and there, and then now every time I turn around, there's another skip throwing with them.
You're assuming that that's a corn broom. As
Yeah.
far as I can tell, it's
Yeah.
just a broom handle with a bunch of tape wrapped around it.
Yeah, so that's fair, I guess. Something that looks like it might have been a corn broom.
There could have been straw in there at some time, or it just might be a lot of rolls of tape.
Corn broom-esque throwing device. You know what? They probably make those now, and you can buy them online. Some guy has a factory that makes things that look like corn brooms. You're probably right.
Actually,
that was a comment at the Briar when we were looking at Purcell. He's throwing. He has the glasses and the look that makes people say Harry Potter, and then he's throwing with a corn broom wrapped in tape, and it looks like the brooms from the movie.
You said Harry Potter, and I thought you were going to say he was thrown with a Quidditch broom.
Well, but then I can't remember from the movie, the Nimbus 2000 or something.
Yeah.
It was called, and everybody says he's got to stop throwing with a broom that looks like the Nimbus 2000. People are talking about Harry Potter, but anyway. It just seems, I mean, I don't know how many guys there were at the Briar who were throwing with those, and now here we are again. There's one. And even the younger skips are throwing, normally times you see somebody with that broom and you think they've been around for a long while and they're still throwing with the broom they threw with when they were learning. I started with a corn broom, but I've long since abandoned it.
Rylan Kleiter with a last shot draw. That ran a lot straighter than they would have expected, but gets it in enough to get shot rock. And
right
after 6 ends, we're once again all tied up.
Forced to one.
And it will be Jordon McDonald with last rock when we come back for the 7th.
Stronger agronomics, better returns, greater peace of mind. From pre-seed to post-harvest, you can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
Welcome to the rockshop.net, the official store for the Grand Slam of curling. Whether you're looking for the best hats, stylish clothing, fun toys, or unique accessories, the Rock Shop has it all. Shop online anytime at therockshop.net for exclusive Grand Slam of curling gear, or come see us in person at your next event. Therockshop.net, where fans find their favorite curling gear.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed, more innovation.
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
Well, all tied up as we begin play here in the 7th end, and I'm looking for the first stone. I don't see it in the overhead. Oh, it's a very long guard.
There you go.
So I'm thinking we're going to see 2 guards from Kleiter, and we were talking about it a bit during the break. I don't think we're going to see any from the McDonald team. We were talking about this in the break, David and I, so to bring everybody up to speed, I always find this interesting because everybody debates, would you rather be one up without coming home or one down with? And this is the end before that I think gets pretty interesting and it gets overlooked. They're tied up. Rylan Kleiter, his game plan here, he needs to see somebody score. Whether it's whether he steals one, gives up one, a blank end is the worst thing that could happen for him. Jordon McDonald on the other side of that would love to see a blank end here. Right. But he's okay. He's probably okay stealing, or if he takes 2. And the other, you have to keep in mind that whenever you get an opposition that's desperate to force, sometimes when they're trying to force you to 1, they'll actually force you to 3, and you have to be open to letting them do that.
No, you're right.
If you're trying so hard to blank, can't lose sight of the fact that maybe they're going to force you to score a whole pile.
Well, they've played. I don't know if I would describe what we've seen in this game as aggressively, but they've played definitely a lot of come arounds, a lot of work with the guards in front. We have no blanks so far, so I'm leaning towards the idea that if they keep up this same style, we won't see a blank, which means one person would love to see 2 and 1 or more, and the other person would love to see just 1, and then give up the hammer. So it's going to be interesting to see. You can force 1. Or find a way to manufacture a deuce, and then you're in good shape.
This is going sideways.
Well, we're by the guard in top 8.
That's what I was wondering. Did it curl enough? Can you make the yellow, red, rather than looking at coming around everything? That's tough. I think I'd be more tempted to play the intern and corner freeze the shot stone.
Mm-hmm. The boys haven't put the score up for the 6th end. You and I can see the score on the board down at the bottom, but I keep looking up at the one behind the skips, and just that 6 needs to move, because we are now in the 7th end.
Yeah, you kind of need to put this rock in a spot where you can use it, because I don't think McDonald's going to peel the high guard. I think he's going to peel the tight one. The high guard by itself isn't really guarding anything. So what they're looking to do is come down, touch the shot stone back behind the tee line. It probably leaves a double on the yellows, which, they understand that. They're fine with that. But if they have to use the red guard the long guard by itself, that red one's kind of in the way. They need to move it behind the tee line if they could.
Well, this looks like it has enough speed to move the reds, but I don't think they're going to move very far. Just a bump and sit. Well, beautifully managed.
Well, at least if he makes the double now, he's going to have to lose the red.
And looks like we're going to see some peels.
I'm shocked that he's peeling the high guard. This one's not hurting you. Well, now the game of cat and mouse is going to go on for a bit. We'll see some guards thrown up. We'll see some peels. And who's going to make the first move into the house? And what's it going to be?
Well, if you look at where Rylan's situation is at some point, depending on where these guards end up, I mean, there's a run back double on the reds.
There is.
But I don't know that it wins you anything unless you wait until toward the end.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It might even be his last stone. And of course, Jordon McDonald knows that. And he might not peel the guard with the last one. You make the run double anytime earlier than that. And this has got to get over the hog line. You make the run double anytime earlier than that. And you probably leave a double back. And then we're looking at the blank.
Yeah.
Have to expect we're going to see, what have we got? 3. You got to figure we're going to see at least 2 more center guards and 2 more peels. And then Rylan probably has to make a decision with his first one, would be my guess. Because if you throw the guard with your first one, Jordan knows that if he peels it, you're not throwing a guard in the second one. So Jordan would then have to make a decision. What's he playing? And that kind of forces Rylan to make his decision one shot earlier. So skips first for Rylan would be when I guess we have to see something else played, unless one of these guards is not put in the line they're looking for.
Yeah, there's always a chance that something won't land in the right line.
Yeah, if you put this
But
where
the way
he can
they're
play
playing-
some kind of double, that changes everything. Yeah.
But honestly, it's been a very well played game by both teams, and they have definitely and don't seem to be having trouble managing the lines. It's pretty impressive how accurately, in terms of the right or left, that they've been throwing these rocks. And here again, touching the center line, almost exactly where the other one was. And then again, here we come with the peel. I think we're in the same situation. Really impressive. Which probably explains why they're both 2-1. And we have a tie game. One more.
Yeah, there's got to be one more guard, and this one almost certainly will be peeled as well.
There's almost a look of exasperation in the call. Oh, I guess we have to throw another guard here. Oh no, we were talking about options here.
Yeah, I don't think he's seriously considering that option. I think maybe they're talking about other options now too.
What the opponent might do. Well, we're going to get a little conversation going.
Boy, I think if you freeze it right there, there's a chance that they all go. You'd have to be very precise. I don't know why you wouldn't throw one more guard, even if you're looking at that play into the rings, unless you think
Yeah, you have to start thinking about
and how many shots you're giving
Yeah.
shots you're giving Jordan to clean things up.
Right.
They've still got 3 rocks left.
Yeah. We do A, they do B. Hard to decide. I think you're right though. One more guard, and then from there, then the same conversation, I suppose, will happen.
Well, yeah. Looking at the run now, they've talked about the freeze onto the top red. They talked about making a play onto the yellow. I can't imagine that was a play they were looking at making. I just don't see the yellow at the top of the forefoot. There's nothing good that comes out of playing that rock for Kleiter. It might have been that they were talking about if they just straight guard here, does Jordon McDonald try to come down and just tap that yellow and release the yellow red? That might be what they're worrying about. And so they're looking to get a little bit more curl on this guard just to take away the tap. That again, without mics on the players, it's hard to know for sure, but he did gesture at that tap, and I can't imagine that was something they were looking at playing themselves. So maybe they're worried about it.
Well, I suspect based on the length of the conversation, they're more worried about what they're leaving their opponent as options. So we have to be careful we don't let him do, you fill in the blank. And so this is, I think, a big factor in their decision about what to do and where specifically to put the rock. And we're looking at a little bit down weight here. They're going to get over the hog line. Yep. And the line is actually not bad. I think they might have wanted it a little deeper, but
yeah, if I'm Kleiter, I don't like that line at all, because now he can get at shot stone, or pardon me, the second shot stone, tap it, and you only need to tap it a few inches just to release the back one. You'll push it in behind dead buried, like they're talking about right there, and now you've got a way to get that yellow out. You remember what I said at the start
Yep.
of the end about forcing him to 3?
Yep. Yep.
He could be sitting shot, 3rd and 4th, with 3rd buried and 4th sitting directly in front of a yellow that clears everything. And Rylan Kleiter's in some trouble. He can't run anything back now because he guarded the tight one. That guard really needed to curl more. It's just light. If he's got 6 feet more weight, he probably covers this up.
Well, does Team McDonald simply want to guard this up so that there's no access to anything, and then try and throw a second point in on their last shot?
No, they're never guarding this. You've got last rock. You can't throw a guard here.
Yeah.
But it's just a question of how far you're trying to tap it. It's a precise shot, but I mean, he's had such good draw weight. You got to move 2 rocks. You only need to move the second one about, I don't know, what would say 6 inches, David. So, like, you got to think back 4 foot weight would make it. You're moving 2. You can't just throw T line. You might not move the second one far enough.
Yeah. Well, they're having trouble making a decision. Exactly where are we going?
Well, the only thing that I can think that they could be discussing here is the weight.
Mm-hmm.
They might not even be wanting to move it. They might want to just freeze the pocket. That's not bad either. If he overcurls it, touches the red and sits in the pocket that he's going to create, just even up the top red and the yellow, that's not a bad result either.
Yeah. But you're right. He's got to figure out a way to get that yellow freed up so that he can remove it. And if he does, depending on how many reds are still hanging around, we could have a very interesting final shot. Alrighty. The broom's down.
Not much out of the sweepers early. This has got to get at least to the nose. Cannot be on the outside of this. Moving now. Moving real nice now. Got to get to the nose. He did. Does he move it far enough?
I think that.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's pretty darn nice.
I tell you what, if it does clip that red on the way by, it's just going to be on the way by because he's not clipping enough of it for the yellow to stay.
Yep.
And what redstone can Kleiter kill right now? I'm not sure he can kill any of them. So do you have to play some kind of double tap? Like a freeze isn't doing you much good. You gotta move something.
Well, if he comes down and bumps his own yellow back to the button before Team McDonald has a chance to get rid of it, and if he manages to get his shooter to stop somewhere useful,
well, that's the trick
to prevent the run back. I'm not sure it's possible, but it may be the only hope.
Yeah, they keep looking. It looks like they're looking at trying to get across the face of that red. The other option is exactly what you were just talking about. So hit it slightly on the broom side. You've got to tap that yellow back, but then you're trying to line up your shooter and the red onto the red that's already at the top of the button.
Mm-hmm.
The other option, which seems to be the way they're going, is try to get across the face on that red at the top 8 foot so that now your shooter will be staggered with the one at the top 8.
Yep. Yeah.
And when you tap this back, you don't have to tap it as far. It's not critical to be shot rock here.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely critical that you move that red over a little bit. And
and where your shooter ends up is a big key.
Yeah. If you're right on the nose here, you may as well not have thrown.
Yeah.
Because then he's still got a chance to hit it for 3 or maybe even 4. It's got to be off the nose.
All right, Rylan. Intern. T-line weight. You got to get the line just right.
The call was to go across the face. He's got to cross it a little bit.
And they will. Boy, too much.
Way too much. I mean,
Wow.
he lined it up where it's going to catch a piece of that stone now.
I don't know.
Oh, it's catching the red for sure now.
But even if it does, is it not going to be, depending on the weight he uses, a shot for 3?
I think you have to play it. I don't care if you kill that one.
Yeah. My goodness. And another discussion.
And I think part of the discussion here, I think he's already decided he's playing it. The question is how much weight and just exactly how is it going to go. If he could get to the nose, and he maybe can just to the nose, then it'll drag a little bit. And if it touches that second red fairly thin, he might not lose it. Like, he could still be sitting 4 after this rock.
Yep. I would agree.
That's what he's looking at. Can we hit this in a way so that we just glance that red on the way by and still sit, well, 3 for sure. I guess the yellow might be 4th at the top of the 8 foot, but leave his shooter right there and leave 2 reds lined up towards the button, which makes it real hard for Rylan Kleiter to make a good shot.
He just has to be sure not to clip that yellow that's just top 8 in any way. That's the only little thing. So you're almost better off to favor the outside of nose of your red, but you would love dead nose.
Yeah. Has to make sure he kills the yellow too. If you're worried that it's glancing off that red, and it certainly looks like it's touching it somehow or another, you can't throw like a bumper weight for instance, and because if it catches that second one too thick, you won't get out of the 8 foot.
Okay. I think we're all in a position now where we know what we want to see. We're ready for them to throw.
They're just debating the weight, and I think part of the whole discussion comes to how thick is it going to catch that red?
Yep.
Because if we can save that red, what weight do we have to throw to make sure we kill the yellow?
Yep. At least hack.
Yeah, it all depends on how thick you're going to get it. Like, just looking at the overhead, I'm pretty sure it touches it, but we're not at ice level. They're at ice level. They're going to have a better idea than us just how thick it's going to catch that. I also think maybe part of what they're concerned about is if you lose that red, the top of the button, where your shooter is going to roll over to, you could leave a triple. Because I don't think you can hit that right on the nose. So your shooter's going to roll over a little bit. And I think that conversation, that's Olofsson saying, let's just roll right out. Then we can't leave a triple. There won't be a double on the other 2 reds. That's a valid, although there's the run double. Well, that's a double run, though. Yeah, I don't mind what Olofsson's looking at. It just hit it hard. Roll your shooter all the way out. You'll be sitting 2.
Mm-hmm.
Rylan probably has to pick one out and give you your shot for 2.
Yeah, I think they're trying to figure out a way to set it up so that they're going to get more than 2. But
I know.
Let's guarantee the 2. You're
yeah,
right.
That's what I'm thinking. You try to set this up to get more than 2, and if you happen to leave a triple, you might get forced.
Derek's down in the hack getting ready, sort of looking at the team, going, "Okay, we've talked about this enough." Oh my goodness. There's no clocks on, but I'm just wondering where we would be if there were.
He's not throwing this with quiet weight. So I don't think he's trying to save the red and the button.
Or the shooter. Well, he hits the nose. He should be. Yeah, the shooter should stick around. Yep, you're right. This is not going to be slow. Alrighty. Intern hit. Needs to finish a little bit.
Onto yellow. It does clip that red fairly solidly, and the shooter will roll all the way out of play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you
Now.
slash that really thin, can you catch the second red? If you did, would that leave a blank? It probably would, so that's no good. Rylan looking at coming right around everything. The only other shot I see is the tick double. Tick the yellow. So yellow onto red. And that should bury the yellow one.
Yeah,
But
it'll definitely
it's
bury,
thin.
but it won't be. It may leave red shot.
Well, no, I'm looking at the double on the reds. I'm
You really think you're gonna
paper thin? It's paper thin on the first yellow.
Okay.
This is scary. Do you remember what I said? Force him to 3. Like that's what you're looking at right here.
So this is just a plain draw.
It is.
Okay. We're going to draw in underneath the reds and hope that you hide well enough that that the other guy can only get 1.
I'll tell you what, I don't think from what we've seen of this ice, I don't think there's any place you can hide this that he's not going to be able to chase it and try to score 3. Because he's not going to have to move it very far. If you're going to be buried here, you're going to be back 4 foot.
All righty. Plenty of ice. My goodness, they're not usually out this far. This will be a path that hasn't been very well used.
Final stone, 7th end for Rylan Kleiter without last rock, facing 2, trying to draw to the back 4 foot, needs to get some cover.
Line looks good. Just don't know whether the weight's right. But there's confidence in this sweep.
Needs to get tight by these reds. Moving hard now.
Pretty good shot.
Boy, that's really good. You wouldn't have thought he could get it that far buried and still be that high in the rings. Jordon looking, well, that first indication looked like it was a pick. I'm not seeing anything that he could pick. Red off the side of the other red back into shot rock only gets you 1. I don't think you throw that. Can he get to enough of the red? I think he can. Hit enough of the red to clip the one that was just thrown, and then your shooter should roll in for 2.
You need to basically hit everything you can see of your own red.
And you don't really have to whip it. You could make it with control.
Yeah.
Because part of the key here is to hold your shooter. It should roll in enough to be second shot rock, I think. Boy, if you threw it with quiet enough weight, if you hit absolutely everything you could, it might even be for 3. The red might hit the yellow solid enough to stay. You'd have to hit everything that you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, this would be incredibly precise shot. But the interesting thing is that there's not a lot of anything better to try. Unless you want to just try and draw down to essentially follow Ryland's shot just right down onto the top of the yellow. I don't think you're going to bump it, so you're looking at just getting 1.
Yeah, Jordan's looking at hitting the outside of the red, touch the other red, and have it come straight back. But if you're doing that with enough weight to kill the yellow, you're also killing the second red. He's thinking he can do it and only move the red a couple of inches. Not an option. Not there.
No.
You're not moving the back yellow one if you're saving the other red one. That shot's for 1. Boy, I think he could see enough of it to get 2 for sure and maybe 3. Because his shooter will roll into the 8 foot.
Yep.
Here's the other thing. You play the shot that I'm talking about, you're never giving up more than 2. Or you're never giving up more than 1. If he plays this outside of the red one and it doesn't come quite straight back as he thinks, you could give up 2 playing that.
Yeah, I think you're right. From our perspective, at least, the chances are better for him to try the straight back for at least 2. but he doesn't seem as convinced.
Well, I think he's the only one. I don't think anybody else on his team wants to play this shot, or they already would have done it.
Boy. Okay. That much closer to having a shot. And this is literally the last shot of the end. So here we go. An attempt to get at least 2. I think it ended up being the one you and I were thinking we liked the most.
No, I think he's playing it thin.
Oh, okay. He's going to try.
He's going to whip this thin.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that it feels that heavy. Let's have a look. Yeah, they're definitely trying to do the thin in-off type shot. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, almost picked it. Goes by the 2 reds, touches the yellow, but leaves it at the back of the button, and it's a steal of 1.
Wow.
So Rylan Kleiter will have the lead. He got the single point he was looking for. Jordon McDonald will have last rock, needing 2 for the win, coming home right after this.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel because we're everywhere. Because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. With SaskTel sponsorships, we get to be part of your community. We're here with you, and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. SaskTel cares. Always has, always will. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
Still, for us, a lot of fun debating that last shot, last end. It ends up, it's a single point. So now we're into that, we talked about it going into last end, about how interesting those tied up at 7s are. Now we're in that that final end situation that gets talked about all the time. Would you rather be 1 up without last rock or 1 down with?
I think it's always nice to have the hammer in the last end, even if you're down 1.
Yeah, it can depend on the ice conditions, the rocks, who you're playing, but certainly there have been offensive opportunities in this game. If anything, there's been a few missed last shots, but yeah, I agree with you, David. I don't think Jordon will be terribly uncomfortable here. He knows he's going to have a chance for at least the tie and should probably be able to get some rocks in play and maybe generate his deuce.
Yeah.
Rylan Kleiter knows that as well, so he's not going all out defense here. He's throwing 2 center guards.
Yeah. If you look at his body language, though, standing back there, there's certainly an air of exasperation. I think that was after the amount of time they considered what to do, that miss psychologically must have been Must have been pretty tough to end up giving up a steal when you were, in theory, trying for at least 2.
Yeah.
It had to be a little bit a tough pill to swallow.
In reality, he's lucky he didn't give up 2. So
yeah.
it's not a bad situation.
Yeah.
You know there's going to be rocks in play here. And now turn that around to the other side of it. For Rylan Kleiter, you know it's really hard to defend against Deuce. So he's thrown 2 center guards up here, and you see this all the time. It's so hard to defend. You almost have to play this like a hard steal, and that's what they've done. They've thrown 2 center guards up as if they have to steal here just to get the force.
Well, they managed to steal, so they can do it again.
And if it ultimately ends up being a force, that's fine too, but they have to keep the play away from the corner, and really the only way you can do it is throw the 2 centers and then force all the play to the middle.
That's just what he called for.
Yeah. This is where it gets interesting. So Jordon, no hesitation. He's going to come around the one to the middle. You have to make your decision almost right now. Are we going to try to clean up the middle and get to use the corners, or are we going to try to generate our 2 in the middle? And it looks like he's going to try to get his deuce in the middle. Has to get across the face on this one. Needs a little bit to the inside corner. Doesn't have to move it, but he's got to get the angle right here. Line looks really nice coming in. Line looks great. It's McDonald sitting 1 for now. They actually got that so far across that if they had to, and they won't play it for a while, but you could probably come around from the intern side, play the red onto the yellow to move it out of the button. Josh Mattern looking now to try to corner freeze the red at the top of the 4-foot. They've got a good angle on the back too. They're trying to set up the same angle on this one and the one at the top of the 4-foot. This is going to bounce a little though.
A little heavy.
That makes things very interesting.
So
it'd be tempting to play this with more weight than what he's talking about. I don't know why you need to keep that red at the back of the 4-foot.
Yeah, Jordan's just looking to, I think, reorganize things in his
one
favor.
I know, but the one at the back of the button's not helping you. You could throw this with a little bit, not that you need to blast it, but sit in the pocket of the 2 yellows.
Yeah.
Let that red go all the way to the back 12. I don't care. You don't need it back there.
I think he was talking about making sure it got out of the way.
Yeah,
I guess that was the big key. If they start throwing bigger weights, are they going to get enough curl?
Well, I'm not talking about killing it, but
gotta get,
good back line. Just don't try to keep that red in the 4-foot. It's actually hurting you if it stays in the 4-foot.
This is looking really good. There you go. That's out of the way. Oh, here comes a double.
Is it out of the way? I don't know. I'd like to see it farther back if it's me.
A double.
It's just a tap.
Boy, this
is
could end up
interesting.
we started off with several shots in a row happening very smoothly, and now we could end up in the conversation zone again.
Well, yeah, you got 5 rocks already touching the 4-foot. There's angles all over the place. That one that Rylan just talked about, you could basically hit the nose of the yellow on the edge of the 4-foot, and it would chisel the one in the button into where it would be lined up on that back one. The first one they talked about was to try to come around on, it's Josh throwing, so it would be his out turn, and get to about 3/4 of the red, and that's what they're still looking at. Just push it back enough to create a red pocket at the back of the forefoot, and then it becomes tough to get any of those yellows out. That's why if I was Jordon on that last one, I wouldn't have been trying to keep that red at the back of the forefoot. It's never helping you, and there's always the potential it could hurt you.
Yeah, I think his basic idea was, as long as I clear it laterally, we can still push things through. But you're right. It would have been nice to get a little bit more area.
It's never going
to clear area there.
It's never going to end up in the scoreboard, but it could sure end up being something you could jam onto.
Well, so we've got our broom set coming down, tapping red through and sitting. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, he's looking to tap the red, and it'll have to make contact with that back one to he wants to roll it in behind the yellow. And again, if that rock wasn't sitting at the back forefoot, this shot wouldn't even be possible. Needs to curl a bit more yet. It still looks right now like it's chipping the yellow, and it does.
So red is now shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have to play this. That might not be a bad way to play it. Play it right into the pocket. Because right now, if you don't throw, Rylan Kleiter's playing the draw around the other side onto the shot stone.
Right.
If you tap this straight back to get the yellow, he's still got that. If you tap it slightly on the angle and put it in the pocket, he probably doesn't.
Well, we're trying to just move things around, and yes, as you said, in favor of red. And it looks like the line is really nice. Just a question of what's the weight. Tapping up.
Yeah, he got that more onto the red than he would have liked to. Would have liked to put it into the pocket.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do here if you're Rylan Kleiter? I'm kind of seeing the freeze again. Even if you're right on the pocket.
And they're all back down again for another chat.
Now, there's no Jumbotron here, and the angles matter.
Yep, for sure.
They're looking at the double on the reds as well. They could do that, but if you're going to do that, you actually need to move all four of them, which might be there. You know, if you come off the one in the 8-foot, catch the top edge of the one that's in the button, you could maybe move all four reds. You'd have to throw a bullet. I don't think that's what they want to play right now. The freeze is pretty good. Holy crow! This is still just third's last stone. We've still got 6 rocks to show. We might have 6 more conversations or 5 more conversations coming after this one because angles matter big time.
We may be setting a record for the longest 2 ends.
Yeah, it's not going to be quick. There's every shot here. The angles change just a little bit, and it's a big game for both teams. You know, again, both came in 2-1. The winner knows they're in the playoffs. The loser has to watch the scoreboards yet to find out, and could possibly be playing tiebreakers yet later tonight. Gonna move that just a little bit. I think that's fine. Like, how does Jordon McDonald ever get 2 right now?
Very, very difficult situation. I mean, it's interesting that it looks like red's got one under control. Could he come down and hit and move a couple of the yellows to sort of open up some space? Or what if he just throws an in-turn draw and just comes right down and sits on top of his own?
And then
Yeah.
Rylan chisels the one that was just thrown into the shot stone.
Into the shot, yeah. So he's got to be careful of what almost more careful of what yellow can do than what he should do. He's got to almost run a defensive play here. You were right about the more conversations.
Yeah. Boy, that's yeah. I agree. He's got to move something yellow. I just don't know how you do it. Can you ever? Man, the yellow that was just thrown is in a really good spot for Kleiter. You'd love to move it, but it's hard to. You're never going to move it more than about 8 inches. It's just going to jam on something, even if you hit it right on the nose, and just jam it onto the yellow, which might not be a bad result. I mean, you could probably come between the red and the yellow and double out the back 2 yellows, even if you have to take it off a red. But then that yellow at the top of the forefoot's still in a really good spot. Even that shot that they're looking at trying to get to the inside of the yellow, chisel it a little bit, try to remove some of the backing, but I don't think you're going to move anything very far, and the yellow's still going to spill back towards the shot rock.
Right.
This is probably more about leaving your shooter in a good spot than...
Yep.
You need to move this yellow. It's really tough to move it very far. You can change the angle a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think coming on the inside of the nose of the top yellow and almost jiggling everything around is the way to go, because it opens up possibilities, even though we don't know necessarily what the possibilities will be. My goodness. All right.
Certainly has to get to the inside here. If he's anything on the outside, he's putting it onto the redstone. There it goes. Big move now by the front one. He does get to the inside. Where's the dust going to settle? I'm not sure that's better for him.
All right, so here we go. At least he's looking at playing the in-off as opposed to just coming straight into the pocket.
Well, he is, but do you have to play it yet? Like, if you don't throw another rock, I don't know how Jordon McDonald's getting 2 right now. Because yellow's got second and third. He doesn't have a double.
Does he consider guarding?
I wouldn't, but I wouldn't mind. You could come right, if you sit right where that brush is, what does Jordon do?
Yeah.
Because he's got 2 ways, either direct or in off the red, to kill the shot stone. He can't take both of them away.
Yep.
I would just be worried that if you play it now, you're going to free up too much room for Jordon to get the yellows out. And I guess that would have to be part of this discussion, is where are the yellows going to end up after this? If you're playing it, I don't think you're playing it hard. You know what I mean?
Timeout? Did he just signal for timeout?
They may well have timeouts available here, and I think probably if they do, Rylan's coach is likely there. That's not only his coach, but father, Dean Kleiter.
It just seems so incredibly complex, and I think the question becomes whether you're trying to let them score one or you're trying to steal and end the game.
Well, I think you've almost got the force dead now. We still got 4 rocks left to come, and there's already 7 rocks touching the forefoot. Like, this is, and it's all about the angles now.
Well,
it looks like he's going to play the freeze. I like this call. I think if you come in off of it now, you could end up giving Jordon a chance to blast something and free up some space. You make the freeze now, the corner freeze on the yellow, and it's like we said, you've got two ways now. You can blast it later. You can come direct at the yellows, or you can still come off that red on the next one. Jordon can't take both of those shots away.
Right.
He doesn't have a rock fat enough to take both of them away. Has to get by the one at the top of the 4 foot, though.
Weight's down.
Might chisel off it and get it that way. That still works, I think.
So how can red score 2? Bump the red at the top of the 4 foot into the yellow.
He's still got to be careful that he scores 1. So he's looking at red onto yellow, double the yellows so that maybe he's got enough room on the button to score the second one. I don't know how you get there, though. I'm looking at the in-turn through the port, and you touch that yellow or that red at the top of the 4 foot
Straight
into the yellow.
Oh, I see.
To take away that angle that he's got right now.
Right.
I'm still not sure how you get 2, but that's to protect your 1 as much as anything else.
Right.
Your shooter could roll into a good spot. So that's what I'm looking at. Touch, well, not with that kind of weight. He's looking at running the guard in with weight. If you come down there with, again, as you're just jiggling things around, in-turn side, touch the red onto the yellow to break the angle on the freeze, and your shooter rolls over a little bit. There might be angle to run your shooter on the next one, your shooter on this one, into the red on the button, onto the yellow at the back of the button, and maybe you can get to 2 that way.
Yep.
You don't have any angles, and you can't set up anything on the other side of the house. So I think if you're going to set up an angle, it's got to be on the in-turn side.
I agree. Yeah. I think we...
it's hard to know what you're going to leave.
We seem to have a better view than they do because they're standing on the opposite side. But I think the way we're looking at it from above, I think you're right. There's not a lot of choice. Now, to do what you're asking, though, there's
it's a very tough
yellow
shot.
Guards, a couple of yellow guards getting in the way of the ideal shot here. We're talking about a T-line weight shot that comes all the way around the guards and bumps the red almost on the nose.
No, I'm thinking thinner on the red. I'm thinking like about half a rock because you got to put it onto the yellow.
Yeah.
And you want your shooter to roll kind of almost dead open so that you've got a shot to slash it in with your last one. I think the corner guard might be more in the way.
I wanted to keep the red, the top of the 4 foot red coming back onto the yellow closer to straight, so that the 2 reds are basically one on top of the other, and therefore maybe scoring.
I know what you mean, but I don't think that top red's ever got a chance to end up on the scoreboard because of that yellow at the back button. I think you got a better chance of getting your shooter onto the board if you can slash it in. If you got a good angle, something on this side of the sheet, a good angle to run onto shot onto the yellow at the back of the button. But it's got to be at that angle so that there's no risk.
Yep.
I can't see anything on the left side of the sheet for Jordon McDonald, and I don't see how I can't even see him making anything on the left side of the sheet. Like there's nothing he can make this one that would give him a shot on that side of the sheet for his next one. So I think he's got to focus on the other side of the sheet, and it's tough. It's a very precise shot. Rylan Kleiter's always going to have something because there's angles over there. There's a red he could come off of.
Right.
It's tough to take everything away. I don't think you can guard it. Because how do you guard both shots? You can't.
Boy, oh boy. I don't know how long. I should have started a stopwatch at the beginning of this conversation, because in terms of thinking time, boy, the budget is okay. We're now at a point where I was going to say we're now at a point where everybody's moved down to the hack, but not quite. One guy stopped and is now back. McDonald is back.
He's still looking at something on the left side of the sheet, though, and I just don't see anything over here.
Okay.
I think he's just where he put the broom at the last. I think he's blasting. Try to make sure he's got some room. This is scary.
Well, if he bumps his red off the button back to his other red behind the button, and theoretically it'll still stop in a reasonable position. But as you say, I think it may be a Hail Mary, just almost let's throw this and see how everything turns out.
I'm seeing 2 or 3 reds leaving, and honestly, I only see 1 yellow leaving the house.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how hard he throws it.
Where the broom is, he's throwing this hard.
One, two, three. All right.
That was probably the best he could have done with it, actually. It spun back up.
And there's no direct way of doing something good with the 2 yellow rocks. You have to come out from the outside, and they're immediately seeing that. Look at, I'm thinking you want to throw it right between the 2 reds, and they're talking about hitting the outside red sideways.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, he's going to play the double on the reds to kick it that sideways. I'm not sure you couldn't do something off the yellows, but you got to lose one of your own. That's the scary thing. You could blast the yellow. It's going to come off the yellow, off the red, and squirt back. The problem is you're going to leave a lot of reds around, and he only needs to find a way to blast out the yellow. That actually worked out as well for Jordon as it could. It freed up some stuff at the back.
Yep.
He's got escape routes for a couple of the rocks.
Wow.
I don't hate Rylan's first call, which was so he's looking at hitting the rock in the 12-foot, have the shooter come across into the one in the 8-foot, have it come into the yellow, and then push it onto shot stone.
Yep.
And it's definitely there.
I love throwing it hard right between the 2 reds.
I think you have to hit the one in the 12-foot first. Because if you hit that first red, if you hit the red in the 8-foot too thick, trying to hit the crotch, you won't catch the second yellow. If you're coming off the red in the 12-foot, there's no way you're missing the yellow.
You just that outside red, you got to hit it hard and incredibly precisely, or else you're...
No, there's room to hit it, but you're hitting it first for sure.
Yeah. All right.
And I don't know how hard you want to hit it. They're not even looking at that. They're looking at something on the other side. They're thinking right now is if we just guard the port, Jordan's got no way to score 2 because he doesn't have a double on the yellows.
Right.
And they might be right. It's the question with that other shot is where does everything spray to? Because if you play that other shot and you end up leaving a double on the yellows,
right,
you lose. How tight are they playing this guard? They're definitely playing the guard. And how much risk do you want to take on if you're Jordon McDonald? Does he ever play the angle tap to the 4-foot with the corner guard?
Interesting.
It'd be hard to hurt yourself with that, with a draw weight tap. I mean, the only way you could hurt yourself is you pick your own out.
I think they're just trying to make it impossible to score 2. This is a guard.
Oh, it is. Yeah, they're guarding. Yeah, they were always guarding. They're guarding the tap.
Well, yeah, I guess I thought it would be coming in deeper, like coming in closer to the...
Well, that's what I thought, and they didn't.
Oh, my goodness. Holy cow. After all that, we ended up with Hogged Rock.
That should make this discussion a little simpler.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still not a gimme, but if you get to that red stone, I don't see how it doesn't end up.
It's a draw.
Even if you're thin, it comes in off the yellow.
Yeah, back 4 weight, half a rock, bump it in.
Only thing you can't do here really is be heavy. If you're heavy and it goes right by everything, you could chip your own out. But if you're even back 4 foot weight, I don't think there's any way you can hurt yourself here. You hit the first one thin, it's still going to spin in off the yellow.
Yep. Okay. So this is an in-turn tap for the win. Already got one.
He's got the tying point sitting on the edge of the button right now. Doesn't have a direct path to get to the 4 foot. Needs full 4 foot. So he's going to play the tap on his own. Can't really see it from the hacks. It is buried. They know it'll finish here, though. They've been making this shot all game long. Made a nice draw in the opening end to pick up a single. We'll see if he can close it off here. Needs the little tap. Samagalski on the brush early. He's got to get by the tighter guard.
Get by that guard. Hard. They're really, really hollering. Looks like they're by.
By the front one. Now looking for the last little bit of curl. Touches it. Touches it enough.
Oof.
Jordon McDonald will pick up 2 points and the victory.
What an unbelievable game. I don't know. When we saw these guys starting, I don't know that we imagined it would end up like this, and especially the last 2 or 3 ends. Unbelievable.
Rocks in play every end. Points on the board every end. Jordon McDonald comes out with the win. That moves him to 3-1. He knows he's through to the playoffs. Rylan Kleiter still may be. He's at 2-2. But he's going to have to sit back and watch the scores in this final round robin draw coming up, and he may well end up having to play tiebreakers later on tonight. We will have all of the action for you here on the Curling Stadium Martensville from the Curling Stadium Martensville International. Final round robin draw coming up. Might be tiebreakers later tomorrow or later tonight, and of course all the championship round action tomorrow. On behalf of myself, Sean Joyce, my partner for this broadcast, David Wills, we want to thank you for joining us this afternoon, and stay right here for all the action. Let's hope we've got more games like this one coming up later tonight and all day tomorrow.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed? More innovation?
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardline's Ice Pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best broom in the game. Hardline. Join the revolution.